Hello and welcome to Ableton Live Fundamentals. In this course, we're going to cover everything you need to know to begin the process of creating music with Ableton Live 7. We're going to look at audio and MIDI recording, working with audio and MIDI clips. We're going to take a look at creating arrangements in both of Live's views, all of the various elements that make up the Live interface, and much more. This is the Quick Start Guide Part 1, and in this lesson what we're going to first do is take a quick look at Ableton Live's interface, some of the more important components that you'll be using, and we're going to drag and drop some loops right onto Ableton Live and start the process of actually creating music with Ableton Live 7. The first thing you'll see when you open up Ableton Live is what you're looking at right now. Over on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see Live's lessons. You're going to want to close that for now. We're going to want to make some more room on the screen. You can close the Live 7 lessons by clicking right here. Later on, you might want to go back and open them up again. You can choose View from the File menu and Lessons, and you'll have access to the many, many very cool lessons that are contained within the Live 7 lessons, giving you information about all sorts of different aspects of the program. Here we're looking at what's called the session view. Now there are two different views in Live. One is this session view and the other is the arrangement view. In these quick start movies, we're going to start by working in the session view and then we're going to move over to the arrangement view. A quick look at some of the elements that make up the Live interface include the toolbars up at the top. Here we have an audio track and a MIDI track, and in these quick start lessons we're going to be working specifically with audio tracks, but you'll find later that much of that functionality actually transfers to MIDI tracks as well. Here we have Live's master track, which we'll be using to launch scenes, another concept we'll be covering in detail. And over here we have the Live browser. The Live browser contains a lot of the functionality that you'll be working with throughout this course, including access to Live's instruments and effects, third-party plugin instruments and effects, and all of the audio and MIDI files and many other files that are located on your computer that you can use to create music with Live. We're going to start things off by using the browser to access some loops that I have. Now you can use the loops that come with this course. They are in the folder named Quick Start, or you can use any loops that you have from another source. Just make sure you drag them to your desktop, and up here we're going to click the bookmarks button for the Live browser and select desktop. Now you've all got this same option at the top of your browser window. I'm going to open the folder containing my loops by clicking this triangle here, making sure that my browser preview button is turned on, which it is by default, so if you haven't turned this off, it should be on for you. I'm going to select any loop in this folder, and immediately by selecting the loop, Live will play the loop. Here's an interesting new feature in Ableton Live 7. When you select a loop and preview it, it previews the loop at its original tempo. Previous versions of Live would preview the loop at the session's default tempo, which you can see up here. A live session is referred to as a live set, and if I want to add a loop to my live set, I can do so in a number of ways. One possibility is to click and drag my loop onto an empty audio track, or onto an empty area in what's called the clip device drop area, or I can double click and create a new audio track. Before we proceed any further, I want to make sure that we're all viewing the same thing. Now over here on the right side of the screen you'll see a number of show and hide buttons. And these show and hide various elements of Live's session view and your individual tracks. Now we don't need to view a lot of these elements right now for our purposes, but we do need to be viewing the mixer. So make sure you've got the show hide mixer section button selected, and this area, the mixer view, visible in your live set. Once you've added a loop to your live set, you can launch the loop by clicking what's called the clip launch button. You can stop the clip at any time by clicking what are called the clip stop buttons here. You can also stop all of the clips in a set by clicking the Stop Clips button over here at the bottom of the master track. And you can stop playback by clicking the Stop button up here in the toolbar. Clicking this button twice returns Live to its zeroed position at the beginning of the arrangement view. And we'll be looking at that more when we look at the arrangement view in particular. I'm going to go ahead and add another clip to my live set. And We'll talk a little bit about scenes. A scene in Live is multiple clips that are aligned horizontally. Scenes are launched by launching the Scene Launch button. Which will launch all the horizontally aligned clips at once. Since we don't need this MIDI track for the Quick Start movies, I'm going to go ahead and delete it by selecting it and hitting the delete key. You can also add tracks to a live set at any time from the Insert menu here. And we'll be looking at that in more detail later on. Let's take a look at some of Live's audio warping functionality. I'm going to go ahead and select a bass loop here, add it to my live set. And I'm going to raise the tempo of my live set up here in the tempo view to 120 beats per minute. By double-clicking this clip, I've made it visible in what's known as the clip view down at the bottom, and I can do this for any clip, double-clicking it to view its properties. Right now we're going to work in what's called the sample box, and if your sample box is not visible, you can click the Show Hide Sample Box button to view it. And here in the sample box I have some editing functionality that I want to take advantage of for working with this loop. I'm going to launch this loop, and I'm going to transpose it by clicking and dragging up or down on this transpose knob. In this case, I'm going to transpose up 3 semitones. Now I'm going to add another loop to my live set. And launch it. And I'm going to adjust the volume a little bit up here on the clips track. As you can hear, these two loops are not working together musically. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double click this to make sure it's visible in the clip view. I'm going to transpose it up, and let's try down. So by using the sample box's transposition functionality, I've just matched these two loops musically, and I'm going to launch the scene. And I'm going to stop it. So that's a quick look at the process of creating a scene in Ableton Live 7. In our next movie, we'll take a look at arranging scenes to create arrangements, and then finally we'll take a look at exporting final songs in Ableton Live 7.